guys, welcome to Hold Your Space podcast with me, Shelley McGee.
And me, Ria Dixon. Here we take a deep dive into the lives of semi-professional netball players and hold space for their unique journeys on and off the court.
Right, 3, 2, 1. Ria Dixon, give the listeners an overview of you.
An overview of me? In what way?
I think outside of netball.
Outside of netball, I'm a very passionate dog mum. I love food and I love hanging out with my friends and family.
Good. And then,
Yeah, go on.
what else? No, you go.
And I also am interested in sport business.
That's good. And you studied sport business?
Yes, I did my undergrad completed it in 2023 at Leeds Beckett whilst I was playing for Loughborough, and then picked up a master's as well the year after, but put that on hold for a little bit. Do you want me to get into that or not?
Not yet.
Okay.
Right, so that's outside of netball.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you're playing at Nottingham Forest. It's your second year. But tell me from the beginning, because you've been involved before it professionalised. What was your first year in?
2017.
Yeah, so Surrey Scorm and stuff. Tell me about that.
Well, I went to uni at Surrey, and while I was there, I went to uni at Surrey because I wanted to play for Surrey Storm. I grew up in Surrey, went through the pathway there and stuff, so it was always my dream to play at Surrey, especially under Townsend. And then the year that I went to Storm, she left to Wasps.
Oh, go on, Ottawa.
But I still had a great few years there, and it was just incredible to get my Super League debut and just get some experience under my belt. We weren't massively successful in those years, but like I say, for me it was all about the experience and being able to immerse myself more into a more professional environment.
And did you play a lot in those years?
On and off, from what I can remember. I do remember getting good court time and facing a lot of challenges mentally, a lot. And I guess that's kind of, I've carried that with me a lot throughout my career, but kind of keep learning and growing as I get older and a bit more experience.
Yeah. So what age were you when you were your first few years?
I must have been 18.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So you finished your few years at Surrey and you decided to go to Australia?
Yeah, so I wasn't offered another contract at Surrey, and at that point...
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I was offered training partner.
And you didn't want that?
No. I think because of how my experiences had been and kind of life outside of netball as well, I just really wanted to just get away and experience something else. And I always wanted to visit Australia for the country itself, or also for the netball. So yeah, I went out there for what was supposed to be a year, ended up being 6 months for COVID.
Yeah. So you went out, and what team was that to?
I went to play in the State League for Peninsula Waves. Met some really, really close friends there and lived with them up in the country. So I was travelling like a few hours, quite a few hours each way for training, but just loved the lifestyle and loved the whole experience of being out there.
So COVID hits, so you didn't actually play for them?
No.
At the end?
Yeah. COVID, like the lockdown started on the week that our league was supposed to start. And at that point, it was obviously all just kicking off, and being on the other side of the world, there was just, as much as I love being out there and with my family out there, like there was no way I could be on the other side of the world during this pandemic that I knew it was going to happen. So just made a quick decision that I needed to get home and had to get some health checks, and got to the airport and all the flights were cancelled, and it was the middle of the night over in England, so I was on the phone to my dad and my uncle and stuff trying to get me home. And then the only option was like a first class flight, and they're like, fuck it, just like Let's just book it. And then ended up not having to book that, and it was just a nightmare. Came the other side of the world round, so it was through Canada, and then stopping at Canada and not even knowing if I was going to make it out of Canada home, whether I was going to, it was just an absolute nightmare. But I just remember, getting picked up by my dad at the airport and just being so grateful. And he was obviously just like, it was so manic. So we were just so relieved to just be home.
I feel like it's like a scary movie, COVID.
Yeah.
Like,
And like,
people are in
can't
hot
believe that actually happened. I know.
Like, I remember my sister picking me up from uni and like me jumping in the car with a suitcase, and we got like the first ferry back to Ireland.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Anyway, so you come back, you go through lockdown, the phone rings, it's Dan Ryan.
Yeah. What happened?
Did you know Dan before?
No. But Ash, who was my coach over, and like my family who I lived with over there, he knew what happened. I think he knew Dan, or he knew someone. He just said, would you go and train with them until everything opened up and you go?
It was that start.
Yeah, so it was kind of just to keep me busy, because we were obviously just all doing workouts in the house, in the garden, whatever. So he just said, would you go there until you can fly back over and like actually come and finish your season in Australia?
Okay.
And so Dan said, there's an opportunity as a training partner. It's not paid, obviously. We've already signed our team and stuff, but we'd love for you to come and train with us. So I said to my dad, what do you think? I'm not going to be earning money, and it's still kind of locked down, so I don't actually know if there's any opportunities to earn anything. And he just said, just go and do it. You'll find a way, and you'll find some kind of employment at some point, and then it's what you want to do, so go and do it.
That's so good. And then you come to Leeds as a training partner, which I always forget, because come round one, we were so unfortunate with injuries at Leeds, but come round one, for context, listeners, I was also a training partner at Rhinos. That's where I met Ria. Come round one, you're the start and goal attack.
Yeah.
And we play Dragons, and play unreal, like make such a statement. You scored the first goal for Leeds at Rhinos.
Yeah.
Also context, training partner. So I was still a training partner with Britt, who was on the 12 but injured. But the training partners didn't travel to the games back then because it was COVID, so we stayed at home. So I just remember having that game on the TV in the living room, and we all lived in the Nettle house, and we had like our oven pizzas from Sainsbury's each on our laps, because like we hadn't even invested in a coffee table or anything. We just had the TV, 2 chairs, pizza on our laps, and just screaming at the TV because these were like so good. And that was just because I remember the first session, Dan saying we want to win it. And we internally knew that, but I don't think the rest of the league knew that, because we weren't filled with, we had incredible players, but even at the time, you and Brie and all, I think, were coming to rise through Rhinos. You know what I mean? Like, these weren't the players that you are now, so I feel like the rest of the league didn't know that was what we were wanting to do. And then I literally just remember that first game. And yeah, so just talk about the first Rhino season, not forgetting the highs and lows, because what do we lose? 3 of our 7 in round 3? We had a game where 3, our goal shooter, our wing D, our goal keep, all went down in one game, with close to season ending injuries, or missing maybe
A lot of the season.
So yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, that year was just unreal. I think for all of us, it was probably one of the best years of Super League we've had. And considering it was locked down and you couldn't really do anything, we just really made it our own and so special. And Dan did so well with us, and none of us had ever trained like Dan trained us. You know what I mean? It was just the basics and the structures and the running.
But the culture, like the culture was embedded every single day, every single session.
For sure. And we had so much fun outside of training together in the house, the 5 of us.
Yeah.
In the house, and just could tell so many stories, and maybe we'll all do an episode one day on the stories of that we could tell from that year and how much fun we had. And I think that kind of showed on court as well, like how bonded we all were and how much we had each other's backs and how hard we'd work for each other in Dan as well. And yeah, I guess that showed by us getting to finals in our first year.
Yeah. And then I feel like the sad part to that story is Dan getting the gig in West Coast. Dan leaving, obviously we were so buzzing for him, dream job in his home country. But the club just wasn't the same. We'd lost a few players, but we'd kept the core.
What, for the next year?
Yeah, for the second year, we'd had the core there, lost a few, picked up a few good signings, but struggled to kind of emulate that. And for you as well, you had an injury.
So that after that first year coming as a training partner, I got onto the Roses program that year.
Yes, so context, you came on as a training partner to first year Rhinos. We had injuries. You ended up playing the whole season, had an amazing season, went to finals, and then you ended that season with a full-time Roses contract. And also talk about that, I remember me and Brett running to the card factory in Headingley. So cute. Because we got you like bloated stuff, and I remember you coming home and just crying. You were so happy. So talk about that, because you did England netball pathway stuff, but then you never was that like you were like, oh, I'm always going to try and get back into full time, because you weren't in it until what age were you then when you got back in? You must have been like 21. Yeah. So talk about getting back in at that time and what that meant at that time.
I think it was just so unexpected. Like I left Surrey to go and explore and go and see the world and life outside of netball and stuff like that. And then to come up as a training partner, not be paid, not have a job. I started working in the club shop at Rhinos in the Marion Centre in Leeds. And then just then ending it with a full-time professional contract was just so unexpected and a massive dream. My two dreams have been to play at the highest level that I possibly can and to get paid to play. And that was obviously just both ticked off the list. So I was just so grateful to be in and around that environment and be around these players and get to know them all, because they're all so brilliant. And it was kind of real peak of my netball career, I think, to have a full-time professional contract. And then I think to go from that to then play 3 games the next season and then be injured for the rest of it. Bearing in mind the seasons were longer as well because there were more teams.
How did you get through being injured? I just remember us getting to training and you'd go up to that gym and do like a 1 hour ski erg session and you're in that boot. But you were like, so positive and you're always smiley but still so smiley and such a part of the team. Like I still would say I did that year with you even though you weren't on court. Do you think that's was important for you as much as the team?
Yeah, I think so. I think being injured this year as well, just knowing that I can bring so much positivity and hopefully perspective when I am out. I know how hard it can be when you're in it and the ups and downs of the season. So to have someone who's not quite as in it and just bring a bit more positivity and open-mindedness, I think is very important. And just to be, I had great support from you and the club and Alan, psychiatrist.
Tell me. We're gonna episode on him.
I felt like I was grateful to be a part of it, still putting into perspective my journey to that point and to be able to be, especially Rhinos, because it was a great place to be. I think I just had to enjoy kind of whatever it threw at me.
And then at what point in the season did you find out you weren't back in Roses, or was that during the injured year, or was that when you went to Loughborough?
I really can't remember.
I felt like it was the injured year because I remember the feedback being they hadn't seen you playing it.
That rings a bell.
So you don't get back into full-time Roses. The feedback was that they'd not seen you enough this year, which is probably hard to take.
I felt like it was fair though, considering I'd gone on tour, didn't play. Like that year before, I went on tour to New Zealand, didn't play, didn't have, I wouldn't say I had massive impact. So then for them to keep me on for another year, I wouldn't expect that. So I understood being moved to Futures, and I was happy with that to finish my rehab and stuff with Amy, physio, who was amazing. So yeah, I was kind of just happy to tick along and then hope something else that I would, kind of make it back in.
So I remember finishing the season, end of season, and we were like sat in the house in Leeds, and Vic Burgess texted you, being like, "Hey, you're around for a chat," and we were like, "What?" And then that just started the most mental, successful 2 years, for you.
You're like, do you really want to go?
I would read it.
What?
Families forever.
I know.
Yeah, so, and I feel like what I want to touch on, because from the outside, it's like you've come out of Loughborough for 2 years, back to back, NSL champion, MVP in that second final, but it wasn't smooth sailing. And to have got your confidence to where it was, like, it's not how you started. And to go into an environment like Loughborough, and I feel like you just literally made it your own and made the bib your own and played it in a way that I don't think any other goal attacker has played it. So what was it like going into Loughborough and then the journey to that first final?
Yeah, it was so, again, my memory's not that great, but I remember, was that Ella was out that year, and it was me,
And attack.
yeah, playing goal attack, and it was very much like Emma was starting.
Yeah.
For a lot of it, and then I would come on when we were up at half time, I think. I remember stuff like that. And yeah, I think just being around so many confident players, like that confidence is so contagious.
Yeah.
Like you can't not be confident in a group like that, and being able to know your strengths and how they're different from other people's strengths and what you can bring. I kind of just started just backing myself in what I brought to the team, and knowing that when it is my opportunity to go on to make an impact however I can. And I guess I started doing that more and more, and Vic really believed in me, and I'm so grateful for everything Vic did for me over those 2 years, because I think, she just backed me more than I ever backed myself. And I guess that kind of showed by the end.
And I feel like I would honestly want to do a whole episode on quiet confidence and knowing what you bring and backing what you bring, and not changing how you play, because every coach is going to want to help you and give you more tools, but the core of you and how you play, I think that's what you should keep. And I feel like you did that so well. And I also remember it was after one game towards the end, maybe halfway or towards the end of the season, I remember, you're going to find it weird, I remember this stuff, but I just remember Liv texting you, Liv Murphy, about how well you'd played, and you replied something like, "I think I'm finally starting to appreciate what I bring," and that was just a changing point for you. I felt like how you played after that was just, you just owned how you play, and I'd just love to do a whole episode on that, because I feel like you didn't change how you play or try to be like anyone else. You just literally stuck to what you do and then added all the little tools around it. So I'd love to do an episode on that. Side note. Anyways, you get to the final.
The first final.
Yep.
Yeah. It's Pulse.
Yep, against Pulse. Do you want to talk much about that game?
Well, it's good. We'd lost them right twice in the season, I think.
Yeah.
So it was obviously a massive, massive game, and we went 8-2 down or something like that in the first quarter. But again, just the confidence of the people around me and trusting the work that we'd done. There was no doubt. I'd been doing a lot of work with Francine around my shooting around my shooting and stuff, and I didn't shoot very well, but I felt more confident going to post, and I guess with that I can just then focus on the other stuff around it and just enjoy it. I can't remember what the score was in the end, but we could really just enjoy it by the end. I remember coming away from that game though, I was happy obviously, but I just couldn't really process the win. I don't know whether it was because that was the year, well, my dad died in January and the final was that summer, and I was just like, I don't know, not emotionally there, or whether I don't know, part of me felt like I didn't really deserve it because I didn't feel like I played that well. I don't know, I just couldn't really enjoy that win as much as I did the second year. Maybe it was just relief. I still haven't really got to the bottom of why, but I remember we were having celebrations in the netball house after, and I was just upstairs watching the game back, and everyone was downstairs having drinks. I was just like, I don't feel like I can celebrate. But yeah, probably was a lot of grief in there as well. Like, I didn't want my dad to be there. But yeah.
I know. I remember that as well. You did play well and got yourself, I remember, out of like a bit of a rut. I think you threw a few away and then were pretty much unstoppable for the next 55 minutes. But so yeah, it's just funny how from the outside you can think one thing's going on, but yeah, interesting. Anyways, you do another year at Loughborough.
Yeah.
Another really good year for you. You're playing more consistently, sharing a bit with Ella. Is Ella back by then? Yeah. And then you play like an incredible final, awarded MVP, and you felt like, okay, I
was going to celebrate that. Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, and I think my value of my game is always down to my shooting percentage, which is something that I've worked on and that I'm still working on, and I feel in a better position with that. But even coming away, I shot 20 from 21 and I still am annoyed. I've always been a massive perfectionist from when I was a kid. I remember having an absolute tantrum about some homework in like year 6 that I hadn't done to perfection. It puts you in a spiral, because if you're annoyed at always not shooting 100%, then you'll just get like worse and worse about it. So it's something that I've really had to work on, and trying to be happy with shooting 20 out of 21 after a season after a career where I've never shot that well. Is something that I really need to come to terms with.
Yeah. You make the move to Forest.
Yeah.
Why?
I felt like at Loughborough I was doing well, obviously, and developing in, I guess, confidence in my playmaking, but I wanted to be able to also be a goal attack who doesn't just feed a tall shooter.
Okay.
I wanted to develop my game in another way, and I felt like Loughborough obviously suit that style so well and want to be successful, and the way they were going to do that was then replace a tall shooter with another tall shooter.
Yeah.
So yeah, at that point in my career, I just wanted something different, and I felt like when I spoke to Chelsea, she sounded very much like Dan.
Yeah.
And
Bree said that as well.
Yeah, just how culture was so important, and basics and structures and just everything that I enjoyed being with Dan, and felt like I learnt and developed that kind of side of my game, was then something that I'd experienced at Forest as well. And I feel like it has in so many ways. The culture's been unreal, and we've worked so hard at that, and also the basics and the structures and stuff. I've really learnt a lot from Chelsea in that way. And I think playing in the circle with Ro, not at all holding shooter, has challenged me so much. And it wasn't kind of what I expected in not feeling at all holding shooter, but because Ro plays so unorthodox in the way that she holds and moves and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it has been a challenge that I've wanted, and being able to connect with Brie back on the line has been so fun, and having everyone, all the other amazing girls around us, and challenging the top four has just been, yeah, the challenge that I've been up for.
I feel like, though, it's different. Reflecting on you moving now is different from in the moment, because although people can look on the outside now and you can look back and say all these incredible things about Forest, at the time when you made that decision, it was a brand new club, and I don't even think you knew it was Rolene at the time. Did you sign before Rolene? Like, you didn't know that she would already do this? Okay, so you knew it'd be Rolene and Brie, but like, and you knew it'd be Chelsea, but Chelsea's first time as a head coach. I don't know, you just back yourself so much that you just knew you'd figure it out. I just feel like I don't know any player who would walk away from a 2-time championship winning club with the start and goal attack bib and just be like, no, I want something, I want a challenge. I just literally rated it so much, and just to be so detached from a trophy or one outcome and be like, I want to be a part of something not bigger, because I know Loughborough's a bigger thing as well, but like just the way you spoke about Chelsea's vision and what Forest was going to be and how they were going to be trailblazers in the league, to just be like, no, I'm just going to walk how hard you worked to get to from where you started to get to being how successful you were. And then you were just like I just remember you signing it and me being like, oh my God, I just raked that so much. I still don't know anyone that would do that.
That's so funny. I didn't think about it like that. I just thought I always want to be getting better, and I felt like feeding a tall holding tutor wasn't developing me in how I want it to develop. And I know that, like you say, looking back 2 years later, that it was the best decision for me. And it is hard, and I'm trying my best to be better every day, and that's where I love to be. And you know more than anyone how really truly challenging it has been for me, but yeah, like I say, I wouldn't change it, and it definitely is the challenge that I was looking for.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, we arrived at, you're at Nottingham Forest, yeah, which I think sets us up well, because like the whole point in this episode is we wanted to set like the context and why we're doing the podcast and what the podcast is going to be about a little. So what I thought would be really interesting for listeners is if you could take us through a typical week at Nottingham Forest, like how much you train, how regularly you're in.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we thought we'd get both our schedules up.
We arrived
and if my editing skills are any good, it'll be on the screen shortly.
Like you say,
but I'll just kind of go through what a general week looks like for us.
it is hard,
And then when it's your turn.
and tell them why you're in. So
Oh yeah, so I'm on my phone looking at our app called Teamworks, and it's basically our schedule, and we look at it every week. And Teamworks
we arrived at, you're at Nottingham
and
Forest.
tells us where we need to be and what we're doing. So, for example, a general week, obviously depending on when the game is, what our leading looks like and stuff, it changes every week. But for example, Monday, do you want times as well?
for me, and
Yeah.
it is
Okay,
hard.
Monday, 9:30 weights. That's for an hour and a half. Then we have PA, usually reviewing the game from the weekend at 12. That's for 30 minutes.
So
and then we have an hour on court, which is usually shooters to posts, sharpening skills, maybe walking through anything we need to from review, stuff like that. And not always like a super intense session, but sometimes it is, depending on how Chelsea feels. And then Tuesday, 8:30 preview. So we look at the game that's to come the next week. And that's for half an hour.
That's so good.
Then we go into physio and prep activations and stuff for the session at 9, start the court session at 10, and that's for 2 hours. Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. That doesn't usually change at all. That's weights for 2 hours. Sometimes you jump on the bike afterwards for a little conditioning hit. Again, depending on loading and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Thursday, we have our evening court session. So we come in at 4, again for physio, strapping, prep and activations. And then we start court at 5, and that's for 2 hours as well. And finally, Friday, 8:30 a.m. in for physio and activations for then an hour and a half on court, which is generally our captain's run. So it's not implementing anything new. It's just TED ball, always has to be TED ball. Then into some skills, which is led by Neve. And then we go like through court attack, centre passes, and like any kind of structures that we want to make sure that we implement and practice. And it's just basically a quick hit out. Doesn't usually last an hour and a half. But it's just making sure we're feeling sharp and to go.
And then you play on Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, if we found Saturday, we'll still Friday. Yeah.
I feel like even just hearing that, like obviously I know you are in all the time, but it's like a really full-on program, which isn't the case at every club.
Yeah.
And we'll go through the next episode a week at Panthers. But then I guess the questions listeners will have is like, how do you commit to that? Because when do you work? And like, what's number one, the situation your teammates are in? So how does that work with them? And then number two, how does it work with you?
Mm-hmm. I guess that's the whole fun of the podcast, and why we're here is because we want to kind of talk about us as semi-professional athletes, but then our lives outside of that and how we balance that, and I guess be a bit more transparent and open about what it looks like for us, because we were talking the other day about how people are so keen and eager to like come down on us because we're professional athletes, but actually what we do and how much we're paid and then what we do outside of that as well is not equal to being a professional athlete. I guess my story at the moment, or my current situation, is I train in the mornings and then I work in the pub. I work in the pub some evenings. I did do kind of twice as many hours as I do now. But when I got injured, we decided that it would be better to have less hours on feet and also late nights as well. So I'm only doing a Monday and a Tuesday between 8 to 10 hours per shift. That's it. Bit of coaching on the side as well when I can, and trying to save up to start my masters again next year.
And I think like the talking point there is that for like people like us who have went through the professionalization relatively young, like in our early 20s, when like the league started to grow, you're not like established in a career that you can like, this is like certainly been the case for me, Andrew, like you're not in a career where you can ask to drop down part-time, or you can, like you have Neve Cooper in your team, for example, who, I don't know if this is still true, but would do like locum work to pick up shifts because she's like fully qualified and she's grew a career where she can do that. And I know lots of people in that boat, so they're so well established and they've done so well in their careers that their employers are so willing to let them work flexibly, let them drop down hours. Whereas I feel like for us, like I graduated from uni with my master's, like as the league professionalised. So I was like, how am I supposed to go into a workplace that like I've no experience? I've got a master's, but I feel like everyone's got masters these days. Like, and be like, oh yeah, I want to work for you, but I can't work Wednesday mornings. I need to leave early on Tuesday. I need to leave early on a Thursday. I need lots of Fridays off. I'm going to Commonwealth Games in summer. And then I also want to like have my own life. Like I want to travel this summer as well. So I feel like that's such an interesting talking point. But then as well, it then limits you to the type of work you can take on. So then you went to the pub and I seen you like coming home from training, you be in like such an intense program. And then you're like working in the pub on your feet for 8 hours. You're getting like sometimes close to midnight and then you've got a 6 a.m. alarm, you're up again. And it's like, can you like talk more about like the impact do you think that had on your body? I think you cope really well with it. Like you're like super organized and stuff like that. But like I do remember you really being like, I feel bad being on my feet at the pub because you felt like you need to be off feet and your calf was struggling and stuff.
Yeah, it was, like you say, it's such a difficult period because I need to work alongside, not everyone has to do that. Girls who are in the Roses program, people who have, I don't know, already have careers that allow them to work remotely or drop down hours and stuff. But I don't have any of that. So I needed to find something that worked alongside our morning to afternoon schedule. And a pub was kind of ideal because it's then afternoon to evening.
Casual as well.
Yeah. So that in my head worked really well. But then in practice, like you say, being on your feet, getting in late, didn't really make sense, especially when I was rehabbing my calf. And it was a difficult conversation that I had to have with the club and with the pub, because if they're asking me to drop down my hours, or if we're deciding that I'm going to drop down my hours, where does that extra money come from? But if I'm losing half of my income, then that pub job. So it was difficult. And I did tell them that I had to leave eventually, because getting paid minimum wage, dropping down to 2 days a week wasn't enough to kind of sustain our life. So,
and context as well is like, again, you're limited to what type of work you can take on, what contracts you can sign. You're on like a 0 hours contract, but then if you get selected for Jamaica, you're in UK camp for 2 weeks and then you're competing for a week and a half. Like that's 3.5 weeks that you've decided, like hopefully you'll have quit the pub by then, that's 3.5 weeks not getting paid, or 3.5 weeks that they have to agree to let you go. So it's just things that like really practical things like that you're like, you're so limited to the type of work you can say yes to. Whereas like people, again, in like careers and established careers on contracts, like they can get annual leave or maybe just unpaid leave, but they'll go straight back into the job after, things like that. So yeah. So anyway, all of this, so you injuring your calf, the whole pub thing, why did that, you kind of touch on it, but that's like why we're doing the podcast.
Yeah. I think as well, when we go on to talking about your kind of story and where you got to as well, it was just such good timing that we both thought people need to know about this and we need to talk about it and share stories and get other players who have such different experiences on as well, because it's just so not spoken about and people just think we're in training full time, we get paid a full-time wage. It was kind of like professionalization. Everyone's like gets paid or gets paid and is studying or gets paid and can do coaching and that's it. Whereas it's so different for every single player.
It also makes me think as well, like how it really limits the type of person that can go semi-pro. Like if I reflect on my first 3 or 4 years in the league, I was getting like little to no money. Like this is before 2.0. But I look back, like how did I make that work? Like I know my parents really supported me financially. Like they paid to my rent, I think, until I was a bit older because they like really want to support my career. They wanted me to like study alongside. But what if I had parents that weren't able to do that? Like, it's just, you would just hate to think that there is like a 19 or a 20-year-old who's good enough to play an SL, and they're just like, that's not reality for me.
I know. And I guess that is a good thing about a lot of the other clubs keeping the same training schedules or very similar training schedules that they had before, is that although it's not, it does eat into some of the day, like you're going to talk about. Not all, some clubs still train 6 to 8 Tuesday, Thursday night.
Yeah.
Maybe a Wednesday morning as well. And so therefore you can probably balance a career or a lot more working hours. But I guess the more professional you want to be, the more time you have to take from players.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, that's what the podcast is about. I can send them this now. Everyone that's asking me, you're like, what's it about? What's it about? I'm like, it's a long story. So yeah, next up, we're going to dive more into my journey. And then we're just going to get cracking after that with like guests and topics we want to talk about. But yeah, thanks so much for listening, everyone.
Thanks everyone for listening. And if you've got anything you want us to discuss, any questions, any guests, we've got a few lined up, but any more that you kind of want to think about, then just send us a little message. And it is at Hold Your Space Pod.
Yes.
On Instagram.
Positive only. We're not
holding space
for criticism.
But
okay. Thanks, guys.